Okay, my name is Scott Baker. I live in just north of Nashville, Tennessee. I've been in manufacturing. Actually, I calculated the other day, I've been in manufacturing for 43 years. I'm 60 years old now. I didn't realize I'd worked so long. And I mostly have worked in automotive, all in operations, but I have worked some outside of automotive, and I've been working on lean manufacturing for many, many years. Not haven't had a lot of, let's say, real in classroom training, but a lot of books I've read and a lot of implementation that I've tried to do. So that's my introduction. Next is the ordinary world. So I've always felt like my career was the number one most important thing in my life, maybe sometimes to a fault. But I worked first for a company called TRW, man, and I worked hard. I was probably working 12 hours a day, 7 days a week for months on end without a day off. I've read lots of books and had great leaders and a wonderful success. I was considered an up and coming person in that company, and now working at Pullman Industries, same thing. I started there. The company was on new business hold with Chrysler and Ford, our two biggest customers, and we really turned it around where we won the Chrysler Pentastar Award and the Ford Supplier of the Year Award. We're doing great things. I'm so happy. I'm doing great financially. Bought myself a BMW. Life is perfect. And I'm giving money to different charities, and I'm really enjoying what I do. I couldn't be happier. And I love going to work. Next is call to adventure. Who are these losers that I am working for? Unbelievable. Since I left Pullman Industries, I've worked for complete idiots. The first guy I worked for was calling the fabrication department, telling them only to run the parts with absorption. The president of the company calling down to tell the operations people only run parts with absorption. And then when I try to assemble it, I can't get it assembled because I don't have any parts. Who does that? He doesn't know anything about operations. I'm trying so hard to get things turned around, and he's holding me back at every step. I got like $100 approval power. So anything over $100, he has to approve. Even some of he has a particular policy. Anybody over the age of 55 can't get a raise or a bonus. I'm pretty sure that's criminal. And I worked for another guy who, when the paint line went down, he wanted me to run it, even though the environment of the plant was just, I can't work for them anymore. I have to do something else, but I don't know what it is yet. Next is refusal of the call. I'm trying to be mediocre like these people I'm working for are, but it's killing me. I feel completely defeated and I'm exhausted. There are days I go to work, I stop the car and I just throw up outside because I'm so nervous about going to work. I'm thinking, maybe I'll just work as a consultant for a while and see if I can get myself to retirement because I'm tired of this. Meeting the mentor. So I had this really weird thing that happened to me the other day. I've been trying to connect with people for my consulting business, and I had connected with this guy named George. And up on LinkedIn, it says it's his birthday. So I send him this happy birthday message, and he writes back to me that I should join him in Santorini, Greece for a Harada Method conference. I have no idea who George is, and I don't know what the Harada Method is, but I definitely don't have any money for it. But I look him up to see what this is and what is the Harada, and he seems to know a lot of people. And the Harada Method looks pretty interesting, but I don't know that I have the money for it. But I went ahead. He said, "Hey, we do the 17-day challenge. It's free and see what you think." So I look it up, and the first thing that it asks me is if I die, what would I want people to say about me? And I reflected on that for a long time. And I wrote this sentence of what I would want people to say and immediately realized that I was none of those things. I don't put God first. I, my health is so bad, I'll be lucky to be around when my kids graduate from college. I don't have any friends. All my friends are past friends from when my career was doing better, and they all live someplace else. And I'm basically broke right at the moment. I'm living paycheck to paycheck. So it's definitely time for a change. Next is crossing the threshold. I'm thinking about what my goal should be and what I'm going to do to make these changes happen. And I realize I got to focus first on my health. And my health is so bad. I'm going to need a lot of commitment. I'm going to really need to commit to this to make it happen. And I got to start small. I can probably barely get up the stairs, much less exercise. But really, if I could do this, it could lead to a new happy life that's not based solely on how my career's done, on much more important things. And I need God to help me, I think, keep me motivated to doing this as well. Next is tests, allies, and enemies. So I've started off small, working on exercising. I'm trying to make small diet changes, and I've started walking on the treadmill at the hotel when I travel. I'm starting at 15 minutes just to get myself, up in the morning, get a kind of a routine of getting up in the morning. But this morning I go down there and the treadmill's not working at all. So I'm thinking, well, I guess I have to wait a while before I keep going and see if I can get that fixed. But I started talking to George and he says, well, why? Why do you have to wait? Well, I'm not really ready for the elliptical. And he says, well, why don't you just walk outside? He's coaching me on the five whys, which is what I do for a living. And I realized that I'm my own enemy here. My own brain is my own enemy, and I'm going to have to do better than that. And I've been reflecting on some of these bosses that I've worked for. They're riding around in limos making $1 million bonuses, and I'm doing all the work. All the success that they have is the success that I'm doing. The one place I was working, people would comment that the only person trying to drive change and make things better is me, and they're getting all the recognition. They're milking me like a cow, and I'm not going to let that happen anymore. This starting my own career as a consultant, I can motivate myself to be better. Next is the approach. I've been thinking about my health and how bad that it is and how I need to really focus on that as my first goal. I can do other things, with my family and try to make more friends. But first, I got to start with my health. It's all centered around that. The success with my health will lead to the success in other things. And I've got to make my life centered around God and family and friends and have enough of a career to keep me financially secure. And that's where I'm going to put my new focus. Next is the ordeal. I went to San Diego with the family on vacation and didn't do my exercise routine the entire time. And now I've gone back to work, and I'm struggling to get back where I was. I've still got to exercise, but I got to get it in my head that I got to do it every day. I can't give up. I got to get back to where I was before I went on vacation. I definitely, next time I go on vacation, I've got to make sure that I continue my routine so I don't have problems, but I'm really struggling to get started again. Next is the reward. I've been exercising now for probably over a month, 2 months maybe, and my A1C has gone way down. I was at like 9.1 when I started, and now I'm at 6, and that's like pre-diabetes. So if I can keep going, I can start getting off some of the meds that I'm on. And I'm adding years. If you look up how much what your time span is at 9.1 A1C and what your time span is at 6, I've added 15 more years to my life already. And I really feel good about that. And I think that that's going to help keep me going and keep me motivated to do more things, add more things other than just the elliptical machine, maybe some weight training and some other things. And I'm making new habits and I'm really starting to feel better. I've always heard in the past people who exercised a lot would say, if I don't exercise, I don't feel good. When I don't exercise, I don't feel good. I feel sluggish. So it's working. I think it's working. Next is the road back. During the time that I have been in a bad career, I've become very quick-tempered. And I think I took a lot of my anger out on my mom. And I sat down with my mom, who's 85, and told her how much that I loved her and apologized for taking out my anger on her. And going to church now every week and studying the Bible. So making progress. So, resurrection. I have a new purpose now. I've decided what the big picture is and what my purpose in life is. And I'm trying to start using positive self-talk to help me get where I need to go. I want to hopefully use the Harada Method in the future, someday when I'm retired, to help prisoners or other people change their lives and be able to reach their goals and do the same thing that I'm doing. And that's really, I think, what my overall purpose for God is. Return with the elixir. So I have my vision now. I have these Harada tools that will help me meet my goals. I can do anything really with these. If I can put my vision together, I can fill out my 64 chart. I can make routines and they become habits, and I can become the person that I wanted to be when I wrote my obituary. So with God, I can do it. I will do it, and I have been doing it. New status quo. I have the system now. I'm the leader. I don't have to rely on some other person. I'm the leader of my own company. I've gone from misery to happiness, and I'm ready to take the next step. That's it.
Wow, good job. Okay, so if everybody goes off of mute and put your video on, I'm going to let you start, Kyle. I got to put myself on mute and my video will be off for a little bit. And Scott, why don't you stop sharing?
Okay, go ahead. I think I stopped.
Think it's still sharing, I think. Oh no, that's just your background. Sorry. Scott, it's great to meet you. I'm Kyle. Just listening to your journey and your stories and specific examples throughout what you spoke of. You basically took me on an emotional roller coaster. When you're talking about your mom, I was starting to feel like I wanted to come out of the screen and give you a hug, right? Like just make you feel like there's, like you mentioned, how you don't have maybe any friends around anymore because they all moved away, and just kind of make it feel like this is another support system of maybe people that believe in you and want you to achieve that success that you've talked about.
Thank
A
you.
couple of questions that maybe entered my mind, or like one on the top of my head, would be: you had mentioned that you shared a vision of what you want to be doing, who you want to help, and it have a sense of like genuine like sense of purpose in this world. And you said that when you retire, that's what you want to do. And I'm curious why you need to wait until you retire to pursue going into that direction with helping
Well,
listeners.
I guess my thinking is that as I practice the Harada method, where I'm possibly getting paid, and I get better and better at it, then when I have time, because if I hadn't, I understand your question, and I don't. I would probably practice a few times before I'm retired with maybe with prisoners, but I want to hopefully make it a paying opportunity first until I get to a place because once I retire, I'll have all the time in the world and I can have lots of coaching sessions for free and it will not be a problem. That's why I say that. I mean it's possible that I could do more beforehand.
Yeah. Yeah. And you spoke before about other bosses you worked for that were amazing, great leaders, friends around you. Is there something about having, like, if you can think back to that time, was there something there that, whether it was friends or family or leaders or coworkers, was there some kind of energy or input or support that you could say they were giving you that you feel like you're missing today, that you could identify?
Here's an example. I had a boss that always went to people above him and talked about how great I was and what a great job I was doing. And every time I went before those people, even before I go before those people, he would meet with me and we go over what I was going to say so that he had me prepared before I met with them. That was the kind of mentorship that I had during those times that helped me to succeed because he would know, Joe, don't say this in front of Joe, he'll get pissed off. Different things like that. So he always had me prepared beforehand. And I'm going to need that kind of mentorship going forward. And in some cases, I know people who can do that. In some cases, I don't. It's going to depend.
Great. Thank you, Scott.
Okay, Scott, that was a great job. Heartfelt. So that was very good. My mom just arrived, by the way, and she's asking me, I'm sure, when's the last time you read your Bible? So I'm negligent where you are at least, making progress. And I was thinking, wow, I could really do some of that. So you got me connected. Tell me a little bit about kissing the babies, because you have it in there, but you didn't talk about kissing the babies. So maybe share with Kyle and Claren.
Yeah, I'm not a marketing person. I've always been a operations guy. And salespeople, marketing people are have a different personality, I think, than others. And I'm currently working with somebody who is a great salesman. And he's very when we go to an assignment, he's out on the floor and he's shaking hands and telling jokes and building relationships with people out on the floor, which is very important built to build trust, but it's not necessarily something that I've been used to doing. And so I'm trying to have him I'm trying to coach him and he's coaching me a little bit in that area. So that's something I'm trying to learn.
Kissing babies.
Yeah, kissing, shaking hands and kissing babies like a politician.
Okay, very good. So now you have a new lease on life.
Yes.
Tell me a little bit about self-reliance and what it means to you.
Well, I noticed, and I think I mentioned this to you, the things that I'm not good at are things that I have to become good at. When I work with you and you were showing me some of the AI stuff and you were showing me some of the marketing stuff, and I had and you learned that yourself so that you could be self-reliant in that area and not have to pay other people. And I realized that that's what I've got to do as well. I can't just rely on the things that I'm good at. I have to be self-reliant in all those other areas in the things that I'm not good at or that I don't know about. I've got to learn about them and make that part of my repertoire that I can do. So I'm not paying somebody to do the marketing for me. I'm doing the marketing and I know how to do it.
Okay, very good. And do you have any questions for Kyle at this point or myself at this point before I open it up to Claren?
How are you doing on the side of the Harada selling and coaching and getting people? Is that something? And what do you do normally?
Kyle, right?
Yes.
Okay.
So how am I doing with Harada? I guess I was am and was a student of George. That's how I learned about the Harada method. Implementing it with my team, multiple businesses, and it helps gives us clarity on what our goal is, kind of like you, right? And an interesting sort of insight that I thought of also that I during your presentation was the areas that you feel you need to incorporate into your life to feel whole in a way, right? So faith in God is a part of that, right? And when you speak to your why and your purpose, I don't think it matters which faith or religion or even if they don't follow faith. I think that resonates and connects with people as humans anyways, right? So something that I found with the Harada method is our goal in the middle, it helps give people a shared vision, a shared purpose. And when we look at all of the things that we want around us, it starts building very, very slowly, like you said, little tiny routines that we start adopting. Some people want to do them, not everyone wants to do them, but you kind of just do what feels right and you keep on making forward progress. And sometimes you have setbacks, but you just keep on going back to the tools that are working for you and you kind of get back on the rails very quickly. I find for myself when I feel super stressed or things are going wrong or something explodes in my face, I go back to the Harada method and the tools that I rely on a daily basis or every 3 weeks or every quarter that we are just using as a routine. I find within a day or two, I feel completely reset and back to being productive again. And I feel confident because I know I can rely on those tools and the people that are around me. One of the things that I also do, thanks to the Harada method, is I've taken on a sort of a lifelong learning journey that maybe I didn't have as much of a focus before. It was more career focused, probably like you described your past was as well. But now, really, how do I contribute to others? How do I keep on learning new stuff? And I just signed up for an online course yesterday that I started taking today, and it's about public speaking. And the comment that was made that really struck out to me that I think might relate to you in some way as well was when you go out to present to others or your salesman or whatever it might be, and you're trying to sell something to others, you have a taker's mindset where you're trying to get people to like you. You're trying to get people to buy what you have. If you go out with a giver's mindset, you're looking at saying, what can I do to help others and not expect anything in return? And what happens is it goes from you feeling nervous about will they buy, will they like me, to not feeling nervous anymore because you're talking about your passion and you're just trying to help others. And suddenly the nerves turns into excitement. So if you're,
Yeah,
I guess,
that's a good point.
so from my experience from the Harada method, I kind of get a little moment every day or every week or multiple ones that it just keeps on giving me new perspectives on things. And I think that based on your experience, not only the years of experience, but how you talked about what you've done in your career, I have no doubt that you could coach anybody today that hasn't had any experience that you've had. If they've had any less experience than you, I believe that it's just a matter of mindset. And again, the Harada method, it took me 3 years or 4 years so far to get to this point today. But I know that potential is unlimited when you use the Harada method. That's my perspective on it.
And you are implementing it in your businesses, but not
Yeah.
outside your
Yeah.
businesses. Is that
Yeah,
correct?
so we've got, well, both actually. We've got 3 businesses. 2 of them have investors or shareholders, so I have to do presentations to them every month on progress and future what we're expecting to achieve. And that was all unsolicited investment. But it was as a result of using the Harada method to help visualize the vision, help visualize the path of how we're going to do this. Because of all of those tools, helped make it crystal clear. It made it easy for people to see that vision and jump in. And then in personal life, had a lot of experiences with family members and friends that would see me sharing what I'm doing with the Harada method, and people be like, wow, you've inspired me to tackle a project that I've been pushing off for years, but I'm just going to start. I'm just going to do one little thing and one little thing, and just texted me saying like, this changed my life. Or, and I'm not even going up to these people directly. They're just, by putting it out into the universe, people are discovering it and putting it into use in their own way, but it's helping people, right? And even my own family had people suffering with depression and other things that they felt like it's kind of hopeless. And I would not tell them to use the Harada method, but just say, hey, it's something I'm doing. I don't know if it's interesting to you. I could tell you more about it, right? Just let them pull it if it's interesting. But within a few months, that individual completely 180'd, no longer felt depressed, felt like they're happy, and there's so many things that they're going to experience in their life going forward. So I think it can help so many people in so many different ways, and it's just a matter of helping with exposure or be there for people when they need it.
Excellent.
We wrap up with Claren. Claren, do you have any questions? And I will say congratulations, Scott. I'll put your certificate at the end of the video and send it to you like Monday.
Thank you.
Okay.
No, I actually, thanks, George. I don't really have much questions for Scott because I know I'm going to go through his process in 2 weeks' time as well. I think I start a couple of weeks later than you, Scott, in terms of the whole process. I saw you on the mural. So yeah, I followed what you've done literally on that first page. So I follow suit in what you do in terms of that. But a couple of notes, I mean, are very inspiring, especially I saw you when you gone through slide 10 when you actually overcome that ordeal, which is very moving. I never took the Harada method in the angle of spirituality, which you relate to God and church is actually quite interesting. At least you know that you believe that the great divine. The one thing I do want to say about the self-reliance, you said you want to learn about marketing, you want to get hands on yourself. The one thing that I also have played in my mind in the last couple of weeks in terms of the self-reliance definition is sometimes it's in the sake of efficiency as well. You ask yourself, do I have to get my hands dirty? Or can I use other resources of people who are better than doing that? I mean, I also think of the spirit of collaboration as well. I mean, if there's a need of help, you can always go for someone or find someone who can do the job quicker and better than you. Yeah. So, yeah, I think we should not be shy to get away from that as well. I tend to also tell myself sometimes, maybe shy. I'm also like you. I'm not a good salesman, and sometimes I want to do everything by myself. But it comes to this day and age where times also becomes very valuable, and start weighing, is it worthwhile spending time on this versus getting it? It's not that you're not going to learn, but yeah, you just have to weigh it on that, whether it's better to collaborate with someone to do something. Yeah, and the final word is that you talk about you're going to help prisoners, which is quite a very, very noble thing when you actually retire. I know I've read another coach of mine that I do. I've gone through I'm going through a few personal development courses, and he actually also he was in prison, and he took a method and he wrote a book about it. In terms of the 9 month experience he was in prison, he actually helped prisoners to get into a different mindset and amazing and actually it's an award-winning book. I'd love to share the title as well with you. With George's permission.
If you think of it, send it to George and he can send it to me.
Maybe I'll put it on a mural.
Put it in his mural. Yeah.
Yeah.
You have the ability to do it. So just slap it in there as a picture. He'll know who it's from. Wow. Okay. Good stuff. Congratulations, Scott. Thank you, Claren, and thank you, Kyle, for your, giving up some of your Saturday. All right. You guys have a great weekend, rest of the weekend. And
well done. Thank you, Scott.
Thank you. Yeah. Thank you, guys.
Take care.
Have a great day.
You too. Bye-bye. Nice meeting you, Scott.
Hey, great to
I hope
meet
to be in touch in the community.
Okay.
Thank you.
Look forward to it.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, Scott.